Self-expression might seem obvious to some people. However, being self-expressed or being fully self-expressed is something that pretty much all of us struggle with in some way, shape, or another. And there's a lot of reasons why we can feel stymied in our self expression. And so I don't want you to arrogantly believe that you don't have a problem being self expressed. And I also don't want you to be anxious in trying to figure out how you can be self expressed. What I want to talk about is how we can be authentically self expressed in our relationships and in our lives. And I also want to talk about the health benefits. There's personal health benefits, psychological, mental, even physical health benefits to being fully self expressed. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what I mean by fully self expressed. And then there's relational benefits to being fully self expressed and the fear of what your full self expression is going to do in relationships often holds us back. However, it generally helps relationships get stronger. So, again, I'm going to cover all of these things. But before we begin, whatever platform that you're listening to this on, watching this on, please take a moment to subscribe or follow this channel. My name is Elizabeth Cunningham, and I talk about self expression, I talk about queerness, I talk about relationships, I talk about polyamory, I talk about business, but all of it is inside of this idea of how do we be self expressed in our lives? How do we take what's in here, what's inside of us, and go from it being a dream or a feeling or a hope or a wish and then making it real. And especially if you live an unconventional life, and that might be that you're a queer person, that might mean that you're polyamorous, that might mean that you're an entrepreneur, whatever it is that you feel like you don't have a lot of examples or roadmaps, and you feel like you're in this free fall. You're in this free fall, or you've had to make this blueprint all on your own. I'm here because I am someone who is polyamorous, who is queer, who is an entrepreneur, who does live my life very unconventionally, and I've always done this. And I've had to find along the way ways to be that really work and that not just align with who I am, but also have people around me understand me, accept me, be able to talk to me. I'm from Nebraska. Like, there are definitely people who have been in my life who continue to be in my life, even though it's been a long journey of me trying to explain or sharing with them who I am and how I feel. And it's been a journey. It has been a journey for me to be fully self-expressed. And it's been a journey for me to have my full polyamorous, queer, entrepreneurial life. And it continues to unfold. I have what I have figured out, and I have what I don't have figured out. But if that is of interest to you, then I suggest that you follow me and chat with me and follow and maybe even work with me. That would be amazing. Before we start talking about self expression, I also want to give a shout out to all of the people who are enrolled in the How to Have Difficult Conversations course that I am going to be leading with Ro Moed. You might know Ro from the handle Unapologetically. Ro and I, between the two of us, have 20 years of professional experience in helping people with their relationships, specifically in polyamorous and or queer relationships. And we created this course so that you can be fully self-expressed in your relationship, so that you can be understood, so that even when there is conflict, you can continue to have connection, so that when there is conflict, that you can ride that wave. We all have maladaptive behaviors from when we were younger. We've never really been taught how to have conflict in a healthy way. And one of the things that has people have healthy relationships, and one of the things that has people be fully self expressed is when they know how to deal with conflict. That is one of the number one things that has people feel confident in being who they are and confident in what they can ask for in relationships when you know that you can handle conflict and you know that your partner can be there with you in conflict as well. So that's starting on May 4th. I would love to invite you in with the rest of our cohort to learn these skills, learn these life changing, life altering, relationship deepening skills. So sign up for that. And again, kudos to all the people who are already signed up for it. I was just super, super excited for it to start on May 4th. So, going into self expression, let's start with you first. And that's what I say, like in general, like as a coaching philosophy that I have, it all starts with you. It all starts with your internal world. It all starts with your wants and needs. You wouldn't be pushed up against something, or you wouldn't be troubled by something, or you wouldn't have conflict with something if it wasn't pushing up against a need that you have or a value that you have or something that matters to you. If it didn't matter to you, you probably wouldn't be bothered by it. Or just because you're not bothered by something doesn't mean that you don't care or it's not important to you. But if you are bothered by something, it is because it matters to you in some way, right? There's something in you that is like, not this. Nope. No, thank you. This is not cool. We got to do something about this. And so it all starts with you, starts with that knowing, that awareness of what is the thing inside of you that is like, you need to listen to me. You need to pay attention to me. And that can feel like frustration. That can feel like irritation. That can feel like sassiness. That can feel like sarcasm. That can feel like judgment. That can feel like loss of hope or despair or anger or sadness. So, all of those things inside of us are communications from our body saying, hey, there's something here for you to pay attention to. So, when it comes to self expression, there might be things in your relationships or in your life where you feel stifled, where you feel held back. Sometimes the lack of self expression can again, feel like that loss of hope or despair, and then that might feel like depression. Also, sometimes when you have a lack of self-expression, that feels like anxiety, like that feels like there's something inside of you that like needs to get out, but you don't know what it is, or you know what it is, but you're afraid of judgment around that thing, so that causes anxiety inside of you. Remember how I said that self-expression or lack of self-expression has mental and emotional impacts, but it also has physical impacts as well. So, a lack of self expression that is causing depression or anxiety, or is a part of depression. And this is not me diagnosing depression or anxiety. I'm not qualified to do that. However, that can be a factor inside of depression and anxiety, like you not being fully self expressed, you feeling like you have to hold yourself back or hold a significant part of you back or a significant feeling that you have or a value that's really close to you that you're not being able to express right now. That can add to depression or anxiety. And so, not being able to be self expressed is a really big deal. And then the kind of bridge of that, of feeling like you're not able to be self expressed, can often feel like you're cornered. It can feel like you're misunderstood. You can start to project onto other people, like either feeling envious of people who are more self expressed than you, or you project onto other people, like, oh, the reason I'm not able to be self expressed is because of these people. So I'm going to pour like hate and anger towards these people because I'm not able to be fully self expressed. And that might be true. There may be people in your life who are making it very difficult or you feel unsafe being self expressed around. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. So I'm not saying that there isn't any truth to that. I'm just bringing this up for you to notice where your energy is being directed. So notice where your energy is being directed while also noticing, what the outside circumstances are for you as well, because both are happening at the same time. you're directing energy as well as people are directing energy back to you. You don't have control over the energy that's being directed back to you, but you do have control over the energy that you are directing outwards. So, noticing when you feel stifled or stymied in your self expression, and then you are directing hate and anger towards people, and then asking yourself, is that the use of energy that you want to have? Right? Is that the way that you want to be? Because you have control over who you get to be about it. And again, this is not about fairness. This is about who you get to say you want to be and your choice in the matter. Because if you're saying that because other people are doing something, you have to be a certain way, you have given them the control over who you get to be. And that, my friends, is not fair to you. It's not fair to you to give your control away to other people. It is always under your control about who you get to be, regardless of whether or not you are in fair circumstances. The circumstances might not always be in your control, but who you are is always in your control. And that is way easier said than done. So, inside of self expression, there is this bridge of recognizing when you feel like you are not able to be self expressed, and then the bridge to being self expressed. So this is where the how you are being meets your behavior. So you also get a choice in yourself of how you behave as well. And this is also why we want to start where it all starts with you, where it all starts internally and being able to name things that are going on internally as well, and even why you feel that way, like where that comes from in your family, where that comes from past relationships. Because then when it comes to your behavior, that can also be a reflection of what you've been taught and or the sometimes a reaction feels like that's the only option you have. Like the only option you have is to lash out. The only option you have is to stay silent. So when it feels that way, that's not a sign that's true necessarily, but it is a sign that you are stuck. It is a sign that you are in a reaction to something instead of a response. And when we're talking about self expression, and this is where it goes from inauthentic self expression to authentic self expression. So, I want to talk about the authentic self expression piece here. And the authentic self expression comes from choice, it comes from your values, it comes from choosing who you get to be and who you want to be. And it also comes from choosing the behavior that you want to have. So, part of this for you might be slowing down your reaction and coming to a response. And that might even be stepping away from a situation and processing for a few days before you have a response. You are allowed to slow things down. Okay. You are allowed to take a second. I give you permission to step away when you need to so that you can come out of reaction mode. And that might feel like dysregulation. That might feel like even have physical sensations in your body. Like it might feel like overheating. It might feel like being overwhelmed. It might feel like being dizzy. It might feel like even an out of body experience. So when you're in that state, that is a signal for you that you, at the very least, need to pause the conversation and take a few big, deep breaths to get back to a more regulated state so you can come back to that position of choosing your response instead of being in a reaction. So, when you can choose your response, I want you to consider, and this is why I'm saying, like, if you're new to this, maybe taking a few days and writing out all of the responses that you could have to this, all of the behavior that you could have to this. And I want to challenge you that there are at least 7 ways. There are at least, at minimum, 7 ways in which you could respond to whatever the situation is that you want to be fully self expressed. There's not just one, there's not just two, there are 7 different ways. And I want you to sit down and I want you to brainstorm all of the different ways that you could respond, that you could be, the things that you could say to all of this, right? It's for you to start to get creative in your self expression. It's for you to know that there isn't just one way to respond. I was working with a client recently, and this was something that we have been working with for a couple months. And one of the questions that I asked her in a session was, what is another response that you could have? Because she kept getting triggered by pretty much the same thing. And so we kept diving deeper and deeper into this trigger. And eventually I asked her the question, if you could respond in any way. And I said, what if you had a whole list of ways that you could respond to this instead of how you have been reacting? And her response was, I never considered that I could respond a different way. So that's why this is really important, is to recognize that there are multiple ways, again, at least 7 ways in which you could respond to something. And when you are writing down your responses, this is the thing that you're going to run into. Okay. I've been doing this for years. Okay. This is the thing that you're going to run into. You're going to be like, but this isn't fair for this reason. Or this person said this to me, so therefore what they deserve is this. There's some sort of, and I want you to consider that is only looking at this particular situation. Like you're getting a little bit too close to the situation, which makes total sense. Everyone does this, including myself, okay? Like this is totally normal human reaction to this. Is that they're like, but then if I respond this way, then that lets the other person off the hook, or that's unfair to me, or you see some sort of disadvantage to any other way of responding, which I want you to look at this in 2 different ways, okay? One is that makes total sense that you feel that way and why you feel justified in having the reaction that you do. Like your brain is like, no, this is the only reaction. And here are all the reasons why the other responses are not a good idea. Number 2 is what I need you to consider is that you need to look beyond this one conversation. And looking beyond this one conversation could look like, what am I committed to in this relationship? Like, how do I actually want this relationship to go? And how do I want to be in this relationship in general? Because when we get stuck in conflict, we can lose sight of the bigger picture here. So it's like, I can get really upset with my partners and feel really justified in saying like even snarky things to them. But then when I look at the bigger picture, I'm like, wow, that is really not who I want to be in my life. And also, that's not what I'm committed to in my relationships. That's not how I want my relationships to go. That's not my ideal way of relating to people. No, absolutely not. And so looking at the bigger picture and who you want to be in the bigger picture and how you want that bigger picture to go and play out is also going to inform the response that you have in any given situation. I'll give you another example with my mom and my mom in my relationship. My mom listens to all my stuff. Hi, Mom. I love you. Thank you for letting me give so many examples of our relationship. And I love you so much. And I'm so glad that we have worked through a lot in our relationship and we're able to have the conversations that we have. Thank you. So there have been conversations in my relationship with my mom, especially around polyamory, that in those particular instances, if I had just looked at the things that my mom had said in that one instance, in that conversation, and we were sitting down to have a cup of coffee, you and I, listener, and I was like, yeah, so then I cussed my mom out. You might agree with me. You might be like, you know what? I might act the same way in that situation too. But is that who I wanna be? Do I wanna be someone who cusses out their mother? No, like, no matter what my mom says, again, this goes back to regardless of the circumstances, you get to choose who you get to be in relationships. And so if I can choose any way that I get to be in the world, do I wanna be the person who cusses out my mom for saying something ignorant about polyamory? Absolutely not. That's not who I wanna be. I want to be the person who's understand personally for me, like this is legitimately my personal example. Like personally for me, I want to be the person who's understanding. I want to be the person who's a safe space. I want to have the door open for my mom to ask me questions about who I am and my life, even if she asks those questions or has in the past asked questions in ignorant ways that like might have been offensive. But I took the case, and I know that this is true for her. Like, I took the case that it was coming from a place of concern, of love, of wanting the best for me. Like, I took the case that I wanted to act off of her intentions rather than her actions. And that's my choice because that's who I want to be in relationships. That's how I feel. And then what happened is that then I responded in a patient and kind way. And we had a civil discourse about it. It didn't erupt, it didn't explode, it didn't go sideways. And maybe we didn't fully understand each other at the end of the conversation, but that's okay because the door was still open. And that's the point. That was the point for me. The point for me was to keep the door open because I know when the door is closed that there is no hope for me to be understood. There's no hope for love. There's no hope for connection. There's no hope for deepening our relationship. Like sometimes in relationships, it's not about each small quote unquote battle, so to speak, but it is about the bigger picture of what am I really committed to here? And in the relationship with my mom, what I'm really committed to is having an amazing relationship with my mom where we can talk about things that are hard, where we can bring up subjects where even if they get awkward, they don't have to stay awkward. Even if they get annoying, they don't have to stay annoying. Even if they get offensive, even if they get heated, even if they get angry. Like my mom and I had a conversation not even 6 months ago where, like, she was angry at me, and justifiably so, like, she was angry at me, and who I wanted to be in that conversation was someone who could be with my mom in her anger at me and come through to the other side where we came back to that love and connection. And so I chose to stay in that conversation, to stay as level-headed as I possibly could. How'd I do, mom? To stay as level-headed as I possibly could because I love my mom and I'm committed to my relationship with my mom, right? So there's a million things that I could have done that could have been justifiable in any of those situations that I just shared with you. However, I chose the response that I knew was going to lead to a better outcome while, and this is the important part, and this is the part that you need to get, okay? While still being fully self-expressed. And if my mom was here right now, she would tell you that because I was still not afraid. Like, yes, I was committed to that love and connection with my mom, but I was also committed to being fully self-expressed. I was committed to being heard. I was committed to sharing my point, even if I knew that it was going to make my mom madder. I was committed to still saying what was there for me and saying it in a way that could lead back to that love and connection. And it wasn't even that love and connection was lost. Because we've had so many of these hard conversations in our relationship, my mom and I know that we love each other, and that's what makes conflict easier, and that's also what has it be easier to be with each other's anger and frustration because we know we love each other like it's not fragile. And we have worked for that over time. Both of us have worked for that over time to be able to get to a place in our relationship where even when we get upset, we know that our love isn't fragile and we're still able to say what's there for us and we're still be able to be honest with each other and get angry and upset and do it with mutual respect and understanding of one another as well. So it's not, oh, we yell at each other, but we always come back. No, we don't yell at each other. We might be upset, but we are still being respectful. We're still saying things that are loving and kind and honest, even though we are upset. And it's not losing its meaning. It's not losing its potency. The anger is still palpable and felt, but it's also heard in a way that is respectful and received at the same time. And that, my friends, is self expression artistry. That is relationship artistry. That is the thing that I want for every single person on this freaking planet. Because I feel like if we could have these types of conversations, if all of us were equipped with this type of skill, that we really could have conversations in the world that would make the world a better place almost instantaneously. And I'm not even joking about that. If we all had these skills, if we had these relationship skills, we would be able to solve things so much more quickly. And I was reading, oh, I'm going to forget what it was now, but I was reading an article several months ago, and it was about the climate crisis, and it was also about the policy changes that are hurting the climate crisis. And the researcher who was being interviewed for this article was being asked, what can we do? And what he said was, this is beyond the skill of my science. Like, my science is, I can't remember if he was a biologist or some, again, I'm having a hard time remembering the specifics of the article, but what he said was, what we need now is relationship skills. All those people that made fun of me before college, during college, and after college about getting a social science degree, a quote unquote soft science degree. Now those scientists are being like, wow, you know what we really need? Social scientists. Who we really need to listen to? The people who know how we relate to one another and how we talk to one another. Oh, yeah, it's like it all works together. Anyways, but this is also why this is so important for your life, but it's also why it's so important for the times that we're living in right now. These skills are also a way in which we can bridge gaps that seem impossible. There are relationships in your life, and I know this for a fact. I've been doing this for years and years. I have seen people, including myself, who didn't think that they would ever have a relationship with some of the people in their life, bridge those gaps. I have seen people who didn't think that they would ever have the romantic relationship they wanted in their life, now happily living their best queer polyam life with domestic bliss. When you learn these skills of self-expression, conversation, relationship artistry, doors miraculously open where you didn't even know there were doors. So I am curious, dear listener, what are you getting out of this conversation for yourself? What are you hearing in all of this? What are you discovering? What do you have questions about? What are you agreeing with? What are you disagreeing with? Please tell me in the comments. Also, if you want to join How to Have Difficult Conversations, I would love to have you in. It starts May 4th, 2025. I would love to personally coach you on everything that we just talked about in this video today. And also, whatever it is that you're dealing with in communication in your relationships. Where are you stuck right now? Where are you stopped? Where are there loops in your conversations where you're just like, I don't know how to get over this loop? Or what's going on for you internally in conversations? Where do you feel guilty or shy or avoidant or embarrassed or angry or irritated or frustrated? It doesn't have to be that way. Let's walk you through that. Let's get you past that. I am here for that. That is exactly why I'm here, and I want to help you with that. So come in with me, come in with Ro, join us for our program. The details and the link to register is below. We only run this course once a year, and we do raise the rates every single year. So get in right now. The time is now to learn these skills. The time is now for this price. And I cannot wait to work with you. All right, sending you so much love.